Welcome to the Knit Song Podcast. My name is Audrey, and this is episode 8 of my knitting, crocheting, sewing, and crafting, and yarn dyeing adventure. So, welcome to the show for today. This is my first show in a couple of weeks, and I apologize for the time that's passed since my last episode. I went on a week-long work-related trip that was great, but oh my goodness, a week completely out of my routine, not just home life, but also knitting and crochet and sewing. I just feel so disconnected and felt so disconnected when I got back last week from so much of the momentum and the progress that I had made. And so it took me a little bit longer once I got back to even have some new stuff to show you guys. So, so yes, I'm sorry for that absence. I don't plan on traveling anytime soon again, and hopefully I'll be on my usual weekly game again. So, yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks. I think 2.5 since my last episode, and it was a really good trip for work. And I had told myself, oh, I'm going to have so much knitting time for the travel. And yes, I could have, but I made a couple of mistakes and choices. And actually, the biggest thing that I did knit-wise while I was traveling was I undid stuff. And I actually ripped out a project that I have been showing on the podcast. And so I'll show that to you today in Works in Progress. But I actually made negative knitting progress on the trip, so that was kind of a bummer, and the total opposite of what I had hoped, but it was a good trip in all other ways than my craftiness and my knitting time that I thought I would have. So, yes, so I think I will just jump right into finished objects. I made a lot of little progress this week, but nothing huge, and so I think I would like to pull out an old finished object again. This is one that I haven't ever shown on the podcast, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart. Now, if I have shown this on the podcast, I apologize. So you can skip ahead, and maybe I'll even do a timestamp below. Well, actually, it'll be quick, so you can just scroll forward if you're bored with this project, but I'm pretty sure that I haven't shown this one before. This is the first crochet blanket that I ever made, and it is a tulip pattern, if you look carefully. It was from a book that I got when, gosh, I think it's starting to get fuzzy and frayed because this is about maybe 8 years old. Maybe 9. This is an old little blanket. But I used just acrylic, soft yarn. I was just stepping into the yarn world, and a friend of mine who was in the same choir as me was working on a huge crochet blanket that was similar to this, and I had learned how to crochet recently at that point, and I was so excited at the scale that she was crocheting. The fact that she was using the same stitches that I was, doubles crochet, single crochet, and chain, and she was creating this monstrous blanket, and I was so excited. So I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to do that. And Deborah, if you're watching, that was you who inspired me. And so Deborah, my friend, was crocheting this big blanket, and we started having people over to my house on Thursday nights, and we would crochet and knit and do things and chat, and that was when this was just inspired in my works library, I guess. That's how this baby was born. But it's mostly double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and that's how you get this general lattice pattern from here. And the tulip stitches is just a few different rows of clusters, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochets into 1 stitch, chain 1, 3 into 1 stitch, and so on and so forth. And then you do something on the 3rd row. Once you've got your little leaves, you just alter it and do the same thing, but stagger it so that now the blooming big cluster part is over the stem, and the chain is just there. I mean, the double crochet is just over the leaves. So yeah, this was an easy one. I really had a good time alternating between just double crochet. This is so huge, it's hard to show you. But there are just double crochet double crochet sections here, then the double crochet chain one, then the tulip, DC lattice, so on and so forth. But it was a special project to me because of two reasons. Number one, this was the first thing that I really worked on consistently with a community, and some of our friends would come to that little crochet night and knit night, and this was the first time I actually had a group to report my progress to, and it was so much fun. I made it queen size, so it's a really big blanket. It's really good for like summer naps because it's got some holes. It's not the most warm blanket you'll ever find, but it's really kind of just nice to have something on over you if you're napping or watching a movie and it's just the AC that's kind of cold or something. So that's one reason it was kind of special. But the second reason was that my grandmother, who was an amazing, amazing lady, was an amazing, I've mentioned her before. She was really, really just super skilled in so many things. And I was always just super happy to hear good job from her on anything that I did. And I remember showing her this blanket and I thought, oh, it's cool, but it's nowhere near as good as Deborah's, my friend. And I just thought it was kind of a good blanket. And she was so happy, and she was like so like just surprised at how quick I knocked it out, and I guess she was really impressed with it, which made me feel really great. And one day I got home. I was living at my grandma's house at the time. I was a brand new teacher, and I got home from teaching, and she said, Audrey, I hope you don't mind. I went into your room and I got your blanket out because your aunt was here, and when Auntie was here, I just had to show her that blanket because it was so beautiful, and I hope you don't mind that I went in your room. I'll never go in your room again, but I was just so proud of that blanket I had to show her. And I said, of course I don't mind, and I just felt so good that she was so proud of me that she wanted to show my aunt, who's also an amazing sewer, who, you know, it was just so, I was the opposite of upset. I felt so good that she was so proud of anything I did that she went in and had to get it out and show people. So that's the main memory that I actually have with this blanket, and it's a special one. So yeah, I think we'll call this tulip crochet for days because it's really, really, really big and heavy and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah. Also, I forgot to mention, I did a pink scalloped border of double crochets, and there's lots of great YouTube videos if you're ever wanting to put an edge on a blanket. It's kind of fun just to, that's probably not a good way to show it. There you go. Get like a little scalloped edge. And like I said, this is old and starting to fray, but it's a favorite, so yay! FO numero uno for today. And numero only, actually. Like I said, it was a busy week and a half. I think at this time I will show works in progress. Now, I think I'm going to go big and start with something exciting. A couple weeks ago, I showed this yarn that I dyed, and in my yarn dyeing journal and notes, I'm calling it San Francisco Sunset because it's kind of just vibrant, like a really cool peak of that great moment when the sunset is most vibrant. So that is my hand-dyed yarn here, and I started a crescent shawl. This is a pattern from Ravelry, and it's called Easiest. I think it's called Easiest Shawl. I will put it in the description box. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it talks about just how to do the basic shaping for a shawl. So I cast this on Friday night. I was exhausted. I didn't get home from work until like 7, and I was like, I'm so tired, but I need to cast on a new project. I just need to. And so I did. So this is what I have so far. Oops, there we go. My ends are in the way. And I'm so excited that I love how the yarn is working up. There we go. The color's a little bit more accurate there. And it's so fun to see a variegated yarn do a plain garter stitch. it's just so much fun to see how the colors lay out. And especially since I placed these colors and I dyed it myself. So you cast on a few stitches here in the center, and then you just keep increasing on the sides and you get this nice crescent shape. So I think I'm going to follow this pattern and keep it very simple and very garter. It's great to have some just garter stitch moving knitting that requires no pattern reading. But I might do like a layer or an occasional row of eyelets or something to just break it up. However, I also thought this yarn would look so cool with black. Like a couple of black stripes. I just thought the contrast, it would make these seem even brighter to have that black, and I don't have any black to put it up against right now. But as this grows, I can show you more how that ends up, and if I decide to put it with a contrast color. I'm using 4mm circular needles, and this yarn that I dyed is a worsted weight. No, excuse me, it's a sport weight. But it's pretty fluffy for a sport weight. It's not, it doesn't quite feel like working with worsted, but it also doesn't quite feel like sport. It's kind of in between. It's a fluffy sport. So, crescent shawl, work in progress number 1. Yay! Yeah. And also, in my purse, this is my purse project that I have just kind of laying around so it's ready to be worked on if I'm stuck somewhere and want to knit for a minute. And the way I wrap it up in my purse is to kind of just wrap the shawl around it. And I was thinking what a cute ornament that garter stitch on a variegated yarn would be. Can you imagine a little globe like that? I think next year for Christmas I'm gonna have to remember that. And then find something to stuff it with. 2 years ago when we moved to our new apartment, we had moved out of state. It was Christmas and we had not brought, you know, we tried to just bring the bare essentials because it was a quick move and I had to start work it was just a quick move. It was like a whirlwind. So we get to Christmas and I realized that we really haven't brought any of our sentimental decorations, and so I was trying so hard to just ragtag by scratch put together as many ornaments as I could. And this year, a couple years, so it's been 2 years since I did that. I used a lot of those ornaments this year, and it was funny because I was thinking to myself, what did I stuff this with? And I kind of just peeked in there because I was like, I don't remember going and buying any batting or anything. And I guess I had just at the grocery store bought a bunch of cotton balls, and I was just desperate to have Christmas decorations. So all the globes and things that I knit and crocheted, I just stuffed them with cotton balls and paper towels just because I was determined to have some ornaments, and I was going to have those ornaments even if I had to stuff them with paper towels. So next year, if I go the globe route, I will use some batting or something that will keep it even over time. So yeah, so that's crescent shawl. That is my first work in progress that's new. I'm gonna move to my cherry bag here, and so I'm taking part in the Andy Sat-Along that's hosted by Inside Number 23's Katie. She's my favorite, and she's awesome. She's one of many favorites, but she's awesome. I just love her. And this cowl is To Knit a Garment by Andy Satterland, and it ends in the end of March. And that sounded so far away when I began this, and now I'm like, I've got to finish this because my time is almost up. So I'm making progress. This is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to show like details, but I will show you some of all the writing and row keeping and crazy marks that I've made myself to help myself stay along with this pattern. And I'll just show all these rows and repeats and things that I've written in there for myself so that I would know where I am. And let's see where that's gotten me. It's gotten me far. I'm still on the body, haven't finished it, but I've made progress. I am through the I am working on the decreases now that I'm down to the body. So here are the armholes. Here are the fronts. Sorry, my needles are wacky today. They want to only go certain directions. These are on 5mm bamboo clover needles, circulars. And here are the front and the front. Ah, so curly. And then the back, and it's all connected now. And then now I'm working on the decreases under the arm. And I am getting close to the second lace pattern, because what happens is once you get to about here, there's a new lace pattern. And once you're there, you're almost home free for the body. So I'm getting there. After I finish taping this episode tonight, I am going to get myself a cup of coffee and watch some Netflix. Escape to the Country is my new favorite show on Netflix. If you're into house hunters, it's kind of like a British house hunters, but they just go to English country houses and small like cottages, and they teach you about the different things. I'm super obsessed with England and have been since I was 5 or so. So yeah, if that sounds good, it's called Escape to the Country and it's on Netflix. And that is what I'm going to watch while I work on my sun shower cardigan for the Andy Saddle-along that I need to get done before the end of March. And let me show you a picture of this beautiful pattern. And I see why Katie is such a huge fan, because I love Andy Satterland's pattern. I like the way she writes. I like everything about it. So here's the back that shows that second lace down at the bottom, and I'm so close to starting the second lace pattern. I'm so excited. And that's where I am right now, is in the arm decreases, or under the arm decreases. So hopefully next week, I don't know. Next week I'll definitely be further along in this, and hopefully I'll be like done or close to done or on the sleeves, something, because March is fleeting. It's going to be gone soon, which is crazy. So, yes, let's see. Next work in progress. This one is the backwards one. I've been enjoying it. Even got some cool comments about my rainbow shawl. And let me show you what happened to her on my trip. I went back to where I started this podcast with, and I will explain why. I got to a point where I was increasing too much. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this was I wanted to experiment and see what would happen with different numbers of increase and different amounts of ruffle and gathering and pulling and puckering and all those things. And I got to a place where I was definitely experimenting and seeing a lot of ruffleage, but it was way too much from what I wanted to actually have. And the amount that it was ruffling, it was going to use up this yarn way faster than I wanted. So I was traveling on that trip, and I was just like, I gotta rip it out and go back to before I started all those crazy increases and keep going. And so I'm sorry that this has not grown. It has actually shrunk. But I think it's for the best, because I learned what a couple ideas that I had would actually look like when I did them, and I liked them, but like I said, I don't have enough of this yarn. This was a gift, and I don't have enough of it to kind of see that through, and it was rapidly eating through the yarn. So I'm going to do something lacier with no ruffles so that I have enough yarn to complete my rainbow shawl. So hopefully this will be growing back to a similar size soon. But sometimes you just got to do it. And I think this is something that when I was a new knitter and a new crocheter, I did not have the guts to tell myself and be honest with myself, you are not going to wear it if you keep making it like that. Go back and do it the way you're going to want to wear it. And I don't want to replace this yarn. I don't want to run out of it and then have to replace it with something else. Like, I really want it to just be this yarn. So I knew I had to do it, and so I did it. Which reminds me, last episode I ripped out those sleeves, and I think I did that at one of the worst times of the year possible, because now it's starting to warm up and I'm losing the desire to have that sweater done quick so I can wear it. However, I have it right under my couch, and so I think that, or right on the little bin beside my couch, and so I think I am going to hopefully grow this back and work on something that I have ripped out or frogged, as it were. I think that is the cutest little knitting term. I had no idea. People would talk about, I think I'm going to frog it, and I was like, what does that mean? And so finally I remember looking it up one day, and I was like, oh, rip it out, ribbit, frog, that's so cute. And I was so happy about that. But I am now embracing the frog it life, because sometimes you just have to go backwards to go forwards. And this was the case. So onwards and upwards, I'm going to have the rainbow shawl of my dreams soon, and I'll keep going with that. And here's this beautiful yarn again. It looks even so beautiful, just balled up, but I really like it. So work in progress, negative this week, but hopefully it'll go back. Yeah, so those are my works in progress. I want to show two things that I dyed recently. My second to most recent experiment was working with only primary colors to try and get secondary or different colors. And so I really wanted a coral peach, and I worked with just red and yellow to work that up instead of just using peach dye. So I'm working on my color theory and really enjoying it. And what was so cool about this, I don't know if you can see, but it's really the outside of the yarn that's taken the dye more, and so the inside has kind of a whiter hue to it, so it almost doesn't glow, but it has like this depth that makes it almost look like it's glowing, which is really cool. So smile. Yeah, so this is one that I worked with and I'm excited about, and I just did a small bit because, like I said, I was just practicing my color theory. And then a couple weeks ago I showed my green yarn, and oh my gosh, I can't remember her name. It's in the comment box below episode 7, but oh my gosh, I did this last week with Tracy's name from Thimble and Thread Make. This is not going to be my thing. I'm not going to be the girl who forgets people's names. But basically, I'm going to look it up because I'm going to get this right. She had talked about this yarn, and I had talked about, oh gosh, like I love Lord of the Rings, and I'm so excited. I've been watching Lord of the Rings again. It's just time for that rewatch every few years, you know, with major trilogies. And here we go. I'm looking it up and talking at the same time. And okay, and her name is AOR Journals, and I don't know if her name is in the comment, but her ID on YouTube is AOR Journals, and she made a great suggestion, because I was saying to myself and to you, and I was kind of musing out loud about how this reminded me of Lord of the Rings and the Shire and all things green and Shire-ish. And she came up with a great name for it, and she suggested, what if you called it Sam's Musing? And I was like, oh, that makes sense, because she explains that Sam, at one point, Frodo gets super discouraged about the journey they're on, and Sam starts musing and starts talking about, remember this from the Shire, remember all the things that are good in this world, and a lot of those things were from home and were just beautiful green things that grew. And I thought, what a cool name. So I did decide to put this one in the journal as Sam's Musing. So thank you so much for your suggestion, and I love it. So that's Sam's Musing. I love it. Sorry, I'm full of cartoon noises today. And so yesterday, I wanted to film this yesterday and couldn't, because I had spent some time in the morning working on dyeing stuff, and work's been really crazy, so my neck was super tense and I just couldn't sit up in front of a camera. I had to put my head back. So that's why this is a day late. But I dyed up something that is more similar to this than I thought it would be, but it is different, and I'm super excited about it. And it's this yarn. So you can kind of see it's a little bit more vibrant, and it's got some gold in it and some blue and just lots of crazy stuff happening. So they're really similar, but they're also super different, because Let me find a yellow spot there. There's a lot more color variety in this one, and I'm really loving this. And my husband, Alex, came up with a super good name or inspiration for this one. And he thought that it reminded him of the recent Marvel movie Doctor Strange. And I was like, oh, I can totally see it, because in the film and the scene, the costumes, the setting, the whole color palette of the film has like a lot of these like really crazy jewel tones with a lot of copper and amber and gold in the back. So like a turquoise or a scarlet or an emerald and copper or gold in the back. So it looks like it's just a very unique color palette, and it's a great movie if you haven't seen it. But I see, as he was mentioning, just a lot of those, you know, golds and ambers kind of unexpectedly with, you know, greens and jewel tones and things like that. So I don't know, but I'm feeling that this is going to have some type of Doctor Strange name in my book. And in the movie, he uses one of the important set pieces or items in the story is called the Eye of Agamotto, and it's like this gold and green thing. And he was like, that's what that reminds me of. So I don't know. This might have a Doctor Strange inspired name coming for it, but it's definitely fun. Unfortunately, the light is not picking up all the color that I'm seeing here, and it is late at night, so I don't have a lot of natural light working for me right now. But I'll post some pictures of this on Instagram in good lighting so you can see, and maybe once I come up with the name for it, I can show you that too. So also, I forgot to mention, on Instagram, my name is I Knit a Little Song, and you can find me there. Also on Ravelry, excuse me, I am Katknitss, and I'll put those in the description box. Next on the agenda, I had talked about wanting to do a giveaway, and I still would like to do that. What I would like to give away is some of my own hand-dyed yarn, and I'm wondering about how and when. So I think what we'll do, we have, I think right now 149 subscribers, which is awesome because we have more from last week, and it's not just about more, it's like exciting just to have a community of people that you connect with. And so I was thinking, as we approach 150, it would be fun to maybe start a Ravelry group. So I think my homework this week is I'm going to start or look at starting a Ravelry group, and then I think next week I have some more dye plans, and I have a growing collection of minis, about 25 gram minis. And I'm thinking, maybe we could do a knit song Ravelry group joining party of a giveaway to somebody who joins and do like random number stuff. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. Let me know in the comment box, in any of the if you can comment below if you want, on what you think would be a good, how do I say it? What do you think would be a fun thing to get? Would you rather get one like full 100 gram hank of hand-dyed yarn, or would you rather have a collection of minis? Because I'm trying to assemble enough to make it a really good giveaway, and I think I'd like to know what people would want. So next week, hopefully at the 150 mark, we can start a Ravelry group and maybe look at doing a giveaway a week out from next week, and hopefully I'll have a bigger collection of things to give away at that point. But I would like to do that. That would be fun. I've so enjoyed getting to know people through comments and things, and I think that the Ravelry group just makes sense, because then if we do knit-alongs, if we do swaps and things like that, and I would love to do some of those things, then we could have another place to chat that's a little bit more chat friendly than just comments in YouTube. So I think that's what I'm going to look into for next week. So the giveaway is coming. The jackpot is growing, and I'm working on things to give away. And I would love to know in the comment box, in the comments below, if you'd prefer like a large hank of one color or a collection of hand-dyed minis because I'm just not sure what people would prefer. So anyway, that's almost it. I have one more thing to share today, and that is I mentioned recording my yarn dyeing in a journal, and I got a new one. I saw this journal and I had to buy it for yarn dyeing because look at the colors. I love it. So I thought this was beautiful, and so I'm going to update it and put all my past dyeing stuff in there because it's empty as of yet. But I just adore the colors, and I thought, what better journal? I mean, it's like the best perfect journal to write in about color, to have this as your inspiration every time you open it up. So I'm super excited. So that's my only real acquisition of the week. But yeah, so I am so sleepy. Sorry, this is the end of a long work day. And I am thinking to myself that I've probably forgotten something because I'm pretty sleepy. Yes, I did. See, all you have to do is talk about it, and then your brain remembers. Yeah, you're saying that because you're right. I wanted to show one more little work in progress that I had. And this one is a crochet project. And I am so looking forward to getting back to my granny stripe blanket. But that's with fingering weight yarn and sock weight yarn. And I just don't have any more scraps. And so, or at least any scraps that look good next to the colors I left off on. And then I realized that I have a lot more worsted weight scraps from old projects because that used to be my preferred weight to knit and crochet in, and now I prefer sport weight and finger weight, although I love worsted weight too. I like it all. I like bulky. I like it all. Anywho, I remembered, oh my gosh, I've never showed this little project that I started, and this is just a granny square that is just going to keep growing as I find more scraps. And so it's just a simple granny square, but except it just keeps going and going and going. So you just keep doing the chain of the 3 double crochets until you get to the corner where you always do 2 of those clusters with a chain 2 in between. And it's going to hopefully grow into something big and beautiful, or strange. I don't know. But I thought I would show this because I found it and I was like, oh, that's kind of a fun thing to do with your scraps too. Because now that it's getting bigger, I'm not even going to have full rows necessarily of each color. But I thought this is definitely something that's good. And I guess the reason I wanted to show is because I think it's kind of important to have different scrap projects for different weights. Because if I don't, I'm tempted to mix yarn weights in my same scrap project. So I'm tempted, I so want to work on the granny stripe blanket that I'm tempted to see how one of these thicker yarns will go. But I know that in the end that's going to really make it feel weird. And it's going to look weird and I just don't want to do it. So this is my worsted scrap project. And the granny stripe is the sock weight done. There's 2 separate ones, and that gives me 2 things to use up those scraps with. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. I missed being able to talk with you and look at comments and chit chat with you guys, and I hope you've had a really good week. 2 weeks actually since I've been gone, but thank you so much for your support and watching the podcast and commenting and just the Instagram conversations and things that we have. So I really value the community, and I really hope to be consistent and intentional about being a weekly presence in the community and making sure that I do that. And boy, this work trip completely knocked me off of that. And so I do hope to be back next week and the week after and the week after and the week after, and really value the community aspect of podcasting and just having, sharing with you guys. And so I would love to hear what you're working on. Feel free to contact me on Instagram, Ravelry, and chat. And thank you so much for being part of this little community. And I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Feel free to leave a comment below, and have a wonderful, creative, satisfying week of making awesome things. See ya. Bye.